Let's go. Let's go. Ed Orgeron made only one mistake last year. This guy coached so well that he only made one error in all of 2019. And we're going to discuss that today and what LSU can do to fix it. Ed Orgeron deserved the Coach of the Year award. In the last episode, we talked about how he's revolutionized coaching forever. One mistake. Only one. And it almost proved to be costly. I'm not perfect. You might disagree with what I have to say, which is why we have the comment section below. And of course, I reply to each and every one of them. So let's go. So you're probably asking, why bring this up? Come on, are you trying to call out Orgeron? No, I'm in fact doing the opposite. You see, the greatest of the greatest always know where to improve and what mistakes they need to fix to take their craft to the next level. You see, Nick Saban hasn't won all these national championships the same way. The way he won with Jacob Coker is completely different than how he won with Tua. It's crazy to see the coaches that actually evolve and the ones that don't. And as an LSU fan, you know about this pretty well with Les Miles. And you do not want the same thing to happen with Ed Orgeron. Now, as we discussed in the last episode, the Ed Orgeron model is pretty unique in that he allows his assistant coaches autonomy. In other words, he gives his assistant coaches more freedom to do what they want to do than any other coach, while he focuses on game planning, recruiting, and doing all the big things that are required to be an elite Division I coach. So, because he stays out of the play calling, he only has really a few big things to do as a coach on game day. Off the field, of course, he's got to do the interviews and rally up the team with the pregame speech. But on the field, he's got to make ultimately 4 big decisions. Do we kick or receive? Do we accept this penalty? But the 2 major decisions he has to make: do we go for it on 4th down? And should we burn a timeout? And in this instance, against Alabama, he decided to do both. Let's fast forward to 4th and 1. Ball at the Alabama 46-yard line. LSU is up 33-13. They have burned no timeouts, and there's 8:57 left to go in the third quarter. Orgeron not only decided to call a timeout, he decided to punt the football on 4th and 1. And today, we're going to break down why that almost ended up being one of the most disastrous calls in LSU history. LSU punted the football, and it ended up actually being a good punt to the Alabama 5-yard line, but the Crimson Tide ended up driving down the field and scoring a touchdown. LSU comes back out, another 3 and out. Alabama gets the football back, and they score another touchdown. So it went from 33-13 to 33-27 in an instant. And guess what happened to LSU's win probability? It went from 95% to 75%. Now remember that win probability. We're going to get back to that in just a moment. Now, we're going to discuss this decision in particular, and we're going to look at it via 2 angles. The first is math. So SB Nation did a very good study on this with their website, Football Study Hall, and they broke down all the math of when coaches should go for it. And as you can tell, if it's 4th and 1 at the opponent's 46-yard line, you should go for it. If it's 4th and 3 from the opponent's 46-yard line, you should go for it. And the same thing applies to the New York Times 4th down bot. LSU, or just anyone in particular, should go for it on 4th and 1 anywhere on the field. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, but at the 46-yard line, we can agree that the advanced statistics show you should go for it every single time. But let's go even one step further, back to that win probability from ESPN. The only real determining factor in a huge change in win probability percentage is actually scoring touchdowns. So field position, especially when you're discussing explosive offenses like LSU and Alabama, doesn't really change win probability all that much. So for instance, LSU, they were up 26-13 right before half. They got an interception. Then they scored a touchdown. Their win probability jumped from 85% to 95% at halftime just because LSU scored that one touchdown. So let's go back to this 4th and 1 call. Ball at the Alabama 46-yard line. LSU decided to punt, and it was a great punt down to the 5-yard line. And LSU's win probability went from 95.8% to 96.4%. So it was a very slight increase. But Alabama not only got the ball, in 2 plays, they got it to the LSU 49-yard line. And look at the win probability now. It is still the near exact same. LSU with 94.6 probability of winning the football game. So what does that mean? Well, if LSU did not get the 4th down conversion, the win probability is still essentially the same. So now that the math is cemented that LSU should have gone for it, let's take a look at the circumstances. Now, when discussing this math, we're talking about any team, not LSU, which had the greatest offense of all time. And they had been killing Alabama. LSU had their greatest quarterback of all time. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was playing his best game of all time. LSU's receivers on the outside were winning in a major way. Their offensive line had been playing pretty good. And oh yeah, you got the best set of play callers you've ever had. All you had to do was get 1 yard. And if you're telling Joe Burrow, go give me this yard on 4th down, you better damn well know that Joe Burrow is going to get you that 1st down. Up to that point, LSU had run 51 plays. 42 had gained at least 1 yard. That's over 82% of the plays. Another way of thinking about it is discussing on a macro level what needed to happen for Alabama to get back in the game. The first thing was that they needed to stop LSU. Okay? It's simple logic. Stop LSU and score. The hardest thing to do is stop LSU. So by punting the football, you're allowing Alabama to accomplish the first thing while giving them an opportunity to accomplish the second. By going for it and actually getting it, which you had a high percentile of doing, you are preventing Alabama from accomplishing step 1. And I know what some of you are saying. Well, up to that point, LSU's defense had been playing so good. They were playing okay. Alabama, up to that point, had run 34 plays for just over 200 yards, which comes out to about 6 yards per play. Now, that's not exceptional, but that's still pretty good. Alabama actually was moving the football up and down the field. Alabama, after that punt, would score a touchdown on each and every one of their final 4 drives. And Ed Orgeron was probably thinking, now, look, there's no way Alabama's going to close out this game scoring 4 touchdowns in 4 drives. Like, there's no way that could happen, right? It happened against Texas. Yes, the Longhorns had 5 second-half possessions against LSU, and they scored on each and every one of them, 31 points. All year long, LSU's defense on the road was nowhere close to being as good at neutral sites and at home. LSU's defense only gave up 30 points in 4 games. That happened all on the road. In fact, they gave up 37 points in 4 of 5 road games. Even Joe Burrow said after the game that he knew at some point Alabama was going to make a charge. So next week, I'm going to show you how Ed Orgeron actually got pretty unlucky. But for now, the facts are the facts. 4th and 1. If you don't get it, your win probability pretty much stays the same. And by the way, to gain this yard with your greatest quarterback ever, with your best set of receivers ever, your best set of play callers, and your running back playing superhuman football, all you have to do is gain a yard. And you had done so 82% of the time up to that point. You let your offense, which had been carrying your team all year, decide the game right there. If you get that first down and you score another touchdown, that's a dagger right into the heart of Alabama on the road. But instead you punted, and that allowed Alabama to get back into the game. And I don't know about you, I think every LSU fan felt this way. When the fourth quarter started and LSU was only up by 6, we were just a little bit nervous. Just a little bit. No, I'm kidding. We were all very nervous to be in that spot. And guess what? I'm happy. I'm not mad about this. I'm showing you that so many coaches make the same error by punting the football. You want to win the game with your offense, especially if you have a good offense, or in LSU's case, an all-time great offense. This punting stuff is what's called conventional wisdom. And as many of you know, conventional wisdom isn't always right. You can drink less than 8 glasses of water a day and be healthy. Great coaches make mistakes and they learn from them. And hopefully Ed Orgeron has learned from this one. Now next week, we will talk about that play and some other stuff. But don't forget, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think Orgeron actually made the right decision by punting the football? There'll be a lot of old school football coaches that will say, hey, he actually made the right decision. Heck, even Gary Danielson said during the broadcast that it was the right decision. So let's discuss in the comments. Don't forget, subscribe to Power Hour LSU. Follow us on Instagram. I want to have an open discussion about anything and everything LSU football. Let's go. Let's go. And oh yeah, one more thing. We started sports gyms, baby. Sports collecting made fun. If you want to see the first video where we collected the rare Tiger Slam bobblehead collection, check it out below. And guess what? We give stuff away. Subscribe to that channel and you can win big. Let's go. Let's go.